You know, ladies and gentlemen, very once in a while you get a great opportunity. You get a few opportunities in life to do some big things. And tonight is going to be one of those things. I am not only joined by the CEO of SuperX, but we're going to talk about why it's not only one of my favorite apparels to wear, but what's in store for the future of this company and more. All that on today's episode of Technoid, so don't go anywhere, don't change that dial because Technoid starts right now. Yo, what's happening, everybody? Michael here. Welcome back to another live episode of Technoid. It has been a while since we've been back behind the camera. A lot has happened in the last month or so. Spent a lot of time decorating, spent a lot of time working on some things, cooking up in the lab. But we are back, guys. We are here. I'm going to make this quick. I want to get straight to it. Guys, as I said at the beginning of the video, there are very few moments in this life that you get to do something big. And this is one of those big things for me, especially as a fan and as just a general YouTuber. I am, of course, talking about today's guest, who we are going to talk to, Austin, the CEO of SuperX, and there's a lot more to get to. I don't want to really over-talk this one, but I got to tell you guys, this is a huge and incredible honor for me as a content creator and also as just a fan. I have been talking about SuperX since last year. I've been wearing their gear, I've been repping it, part of the ambassadors program. I have told you guys to check it out. Some of you have, some of you haven't, but if you haven't, here's the good news. We get to talk to the man himself, the founder, the CEO. Austin Gayne is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Austin, welcome to the Technoid Show. We are live. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor.
And the honor, as I said before, my friend, it is all mine. So today's episode, guys, is all about SuperX. I wanted to really do this one. This was actually I wouldn't go as far as say as like a super dream, but it was been a dream of mine to talk to the man responsible for creating this awesome company and really to give you guys more info, more knowledge on this amazing company. If you guys can't tell, it's one of my #1 things to wear. Whenever I make a live episode, whenever I work out, or even just behind the camera filming my show, you guys always see me repping SuperX. I know it's hard to see in this lighting. I know it's a little bit difficult, but don't worry, we got plenty episodes where you'll see more and more stuff. So anyway, guys, let's get right to it. So before we dive into SuperX, Austin, I'm going to let you have the floor, introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are, and talk about what you do. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make it short and sweet, but essentially, my name is Austin. I'm over in Nashville, Tennessee. I started a brand called SuperX. It's a clothing line. Basically, what we do is we merge pop culture with activewear is like the simplest way to describe it. I own another business called S-Force Watches. And then also on top of that, I'm just really interested in just helping people out, talking to awesome people like you and just working out and just enjoying life. So super simple, short and sweet, right to the point. So
super short, simple, sweet is always a great way to go. And first and foremost, Austin, I just want to take this time to really thank you for creating this company because the health and fitness industry as a whole is oversaturated with a lot of competition, a lot of different products, and it can be very stressful, especially trying to buy products. But you have managed to create a company that not only, like you said, merges pop culture, but you've also created some gear that, in my opinion, is probably built to last better than half of the stuff that I wear now. And that's what we're going to pull up here. This is the official website of SuperX. And the first thing you see, this is like the biggest thing we're going to go right into it. The Mighty Morphin Power Ranger series. Now, I just want to go out and say I have purchased my black Ranger suit. I am looking forward to it. I can't wait for it to come. I know they have other options out there, but listen, I like my black and white. That's me. But they do have a lot of other options. So I just want to get right to it. Austin, I want to ask you, because This is a big milestone for your company. This is probably the biggest step forward you're going to take. And I want to congratulate you on a huge launch because this is absolutely insane. So why don't you talk a little bit about the Power Ranger lineup? How did this all come to fruition? And what are your thoughts on it so far? The amount of success you found, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate it. So, just a background, when I started this company, I actually always had the idea of merging pop culture with fitness, and that's licensed pop culture. So, working with the companies like Power Rangers or Marvel or DC or any of these types of companies, right? That's always been the vision. But starting with grassroots, didn't start with investors, didn't have a trust fund, didn't have a platform to launch my business off of. Starting that and going straight to licensing and working with these bigger companies when I started this business 5 years ago, it was kind of like a pipe dream. If you don't have the cash, if you don't have business experience, if you're young, you don't really have a chance to they're not going to give you a chance essentially. So basically for the last 5 years, I have worked relentlessly, times almost going out of business, making lots of mistakes, all to this moment. And while the Power Rangers launch was a massive success, it's something I'm very passionate about. To me, it was it's really sounds weird to say, but it's just the beginning to something much larger. And in fact, we're already working with a lot of more companies. We're going to be doing more licensed products in the future. So this is just a stepping stone into the larger vision of the company. But speaking reference to specifically Power Rangers, you never know how a license deal is going to go. And historically, I would say we're in that age of superheroes with the Marvel, the DC, those types of characters. And Power Rangers, honestly, even as a fan, it just hasn't been as relevant the last decade. So I was a little unsure, but at the same time, I knew how passionate the base for Power Rangers was. I knew how passionate that community is. And to be completely honest, there's not another product of this caliber quality like it out there. So I figured, hey, at the very least, even if Power Rangers itself isn't as relevant as some of these other IPs, at the very least, there's not going to be another product like it in the world that's going to compete with us. So I have a feeling it's going to do okay. But the reality is, when we launched this product, the response was overwhelming. We got to work with the Mighty Morphin original actors, a couple of them from the TV show. The official Power Rangers Instagram and Facebook reposted our stuff. And just to give you some stats, just to kind of help you understand how big of a success this launch is for us and for them, our collaboration video that just shows the product, it's a product video. And if you guys understand, like, content, like, usually when a brand or something like that pushes products, they don't really do well. Most of the videos and content that goes viral is usually like entertaining or educating or something like that. But the crazy part is our product promotion and our collaboration promotion was Power Rangers' #1 most viewed and most engaged video and post they've ever done on social media, even more than their Netflix trailer. So that kind of blew my mind. 100% organic. And it was just honestly just the fact that this base is so passionate, and we came out with a product that has just never been done before, that was just really needed. So just to summarize this launch and this collaboration, Power Rangers, I expected it to be okay. And if anything, it was just one of those things that, hey, we've done a licensing deal. But honestly, I never expected it to blow up the way it did. And it's honestly thanks to all the people who are passionate about both SuperX and Power Rangers. So hope that answered your question a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, it did. And if I could just add a fan's perspective to this, because I would consider myself a general consumer, as somebody looking in, as somebody who bought the product, I can tell you first and foremost that not only do I think that the lineup you have, because it started with these first three right here, the red, black, and green. Now, as somebody who could have it all, let's call a spade here, I honestly had to settle for one. So I had to pick the Black Ranger because for me, it's what you said, the design. The design is sleek, it's stylish, and we will get into the quality in just a moment. We're going to talk about that. But just from my own personal history with SuperX, using your products and buying them from the start, I can vouch on the quality 100%. There is nothing like it out there. Number two is the fact that you released it in 2 waves. So the first wave, as you guys can see on your screen, a majority of it is all sold out. The only thing left is probably a few of the Black Ranger joggers, whatever sizes are available. And now you have phase 2, which is now the blue, the purple, pink, and yellow Ranger. and those are starting to go out. I think I got a notification saying that now sizes are starting to get sold out. So these are going to go by fast. But focusing on the quality for just a second, if we click on, because in all of the videos, in all of the products, you guys give a nice breakdown of the material. It was here, fabrics and material. You guys post this up first and foremost every time you want to know anything about SuperX's quality. And I want you to talk about that because I do believe you, and I'm 100% a voucher that there is nothing like the quality of SuperX products. Why don't you give a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, I won't. I don't want to bore people too much with that because at the end of the day, design is what sells. First and foremost, an amazing design is what's going to sell. So I'll first elaborate that any of the products we make, we first want to come at it with a design that's really appealing for the customer. And it's just the truth. You can have the best quality hoodie in the world, but if the design sucks, nobody's going to buy it. So I do want to emphasize that for us, design is the majority of the focus. But then again, though, if you bought a cool design product and it was a very low quality product, or if it was, if it broke in the first use, or it was just not comfortable, you're never going to buy them again. So the way I like to think about it, especially with this business, is a design gets people to buy and become a customer, but the quality is what gets those people to stick around and be a repeat customer. And that's really important. So while obviously I've been in the fitness industry for a while, I've bought every fitness brand you could think of. So I understand quality. While that's important, I do it for the simple fact that more so, like, that's how you create a repeatable customer base, is having good quality products. And the design is just kind of like that initial hook, right? But when it comes to our products, I want to emphasize what the major difference is. A lot of people are going to look at what you're showing them right now, and they're going to see like, oh, that doesn't look like that looks like maybe something I've seen before. And they're right and they're wrong. So what that means is, are there other, bold or loud types of design apparel out in the world? Absolutely. But the big difference is, if you want to actually go to the picture of the products, the big difference between our stuff and most stuff out there is we actually use a cut and sew process. So what that means is, when you're looking at that white and that other color fabric, that's not a screen print. That's not a print onto a single piece of fabric. It's actually panels of different color fabrics hand stitched together to create that design. So that's not a blue hoodie with the white print on it. That's a white piece of fabric hand stitched to a blue piece of fabric to create that design. It's something that internally we call 3D stitching, because when you actually get the product, you can actually feel that stitching mark. It actually pops and it kind of looks or feels like a mini version of an armor. And that's the way I've always liked to make our products. It's very expensive to do. It's very complex. It really adds a lot of complexities to the products and expense to the product. But as our customer base has showed us, they're willing to pay for the product because it's just so different than anything else out there like it, and because no one else is doing it, and it really just adds to the uniqueness of the product. So quality, last part, I'll be very brief. You have to pick a very good fabric, and you have to make and construct these in a way that's going to last and be different than anything else. All the other things like the zippers, the drawstrings, the way we do logos, some of the functional features, there's a lot of other brands, high level brands like Lululemon, Athleta, that do these types of trims, but nobody does the 3D stitching to create designs like we do. And they don't create designs that, in my opinion, are as unique and bold as we have. So that kind of speaks to the quality and design framework of how we make our products.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you. No complaints here. And I will go a step further with that 3D stitching. So I recently ordered the Black Atom, the Atom it's called, and I'll tell you, I remember, I think it was a year ago when the concept image came out and you guys had just teased it. I knew in that moment I wanted it. But when I saw the logo, the Black Atom logo, originally I was just like you. I thought, oh, all right, they're gonna print it on and the rest of it. But no, the Atom logo is stitched on. It's not something that's 3D printed. So I can vouch on that, and I use it every day. I take it to the gym. That's one of the key things about all of the SuperX products, is that they're built for the gym. Now, I do mixed martial arts. I do Taekwondo. That's my main profession, but I do mixed martial arts on the side, and I will tell you guys, the fabric material, the stretch quality, everything is superb. From throwing a roundhouse kick to doing several series of kicks, from also just even from working out, lifting weights, the stretching, if your muscles grow. I'm telling you guys, I have not ruined any of these shirts. They are tapered and beautifully. One of the things I wanted to ask you about SuperX is, we spoke about we spoke about like superheroes. Superheroes has dominated the market. A lot of people always want to dress up as their favorite superhero, but a lot of people don't want to wear a superhero like design and look like a big nerd when you go to the gym. And one of the things that you guys have managed to do is create a design where you are able to take that superhero inspiration and make it sleek and explorable. So I want to ask you, what was the inspiration behind the founding of SuperX? What was your initial goal? What was the idea? Because we dabbled about it in the licensing talk with the Power Rangers, but what was the very beginning, from the start? What was the inspiration behind SuperX?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I want to be a little bit vulnerable here and give your audience just a little, just give them whether it's inspiration or just an insight into how a business actually comes to life because it's extremely valuable. Like I mentioned, I didn't start this brand with any investors or, I didn't go to college. Like I didn't really have a lot of things going for me. Like I would say most people who start and end up making a successful business do. I basically think that SuperX is a child of perseverance. And what I mean to that and how I want to relay that to the question you just asked is when I actually started SuperX, it wasn't out of, oh yeah, we're going to make clothing. It's going to be this, we're going to do license. It was never actually like that. It actually started with, I had a background in the fitness industry. I worked at some company, a couple of supplement companies, like fitness supplements, like proteins, pre-workout, stuff like that. So that was my background and that was my experience. So initially I thought, hey, two things. And I was also a fan of superheroes. So like the DC movies, the Marvel movies, you watch Thor, you see Chris Hemsworth, he's shredded. You see all these other people, these other actors, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, they're in great shape, top tier shape, right? So I kind of felt that there was a growing connection between fitness and superheroes or anime or all these other types of pop culture. And on screen, it was becoming apparent. More guys were working out, more guys wanted to look like these actors. And it was like this crossover that was starting to happen. And initially, I actually wanted to create the world's first supplements that licensed with like DC and Marvel, right? That was my initial vision. And I started thinking about this around 2016. And I was just thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have, a Superman pre-workout or, Hulk protein or something like that. I just thought it would be really cool. So initially around 2000, closer to 2017, I started coming out with a product that was a mesh between comics and supplements. And I made a product and it was called Zap. And it was actually, I spent my life savings on it. So everything I had up until that point, I spent all of it on formulating this product. And it was a great product, don't get me wrong. But the thing was it just wasn't the right, what we would call a product market fit. And it was because I didn't have the licensing with the Marvel and DC. I didn't have any of that going. So it was essentially just another product that had a comic edge to it. And it sold okay. It actually did have traction. People actually really like it and still ask about the product to this day. But I just knew that it wasn't the route that was going to take me to the grand vision that we're starting to see now. So after that, I kind of tucked my tail between my legs. I closed down the business and I thought, dang, this sucks. I invested my life savings, but no matter, I'm going to keep working like a normal job, like everyone else, keep throwing ideas out there on social media. And, if something sticks, then I'll go ahead and do it. So eventually, after about a year of this weird place where the business was still technically alive, but I didn't really do anything, I started teasing ideas for other types of products, shaker bottles, all these other things. And then eventually I just had this prototype concept for like a Batman and Spider-Man inspired hoodie. I posted it on social media and the response was actually pretty high. And I was like, wow. So I did some market research. I found out there's nothing really else like that out there. And then I just kept asking more and more people if it was a good idea. And then eventually, in somewhere around 2018, I launched our first products, which would be a Batman and Spider-Man inspired tracksuit. And from there, I guess you could say the rest is history. I mean, it's a lot of learning lessons, a lot of mistakes, a lot of failures from them, and I'll continue to make them. But essentially, that's how we got from those humble roots of kind of taking an idea and not giving up and pivoting to something that people actually want, something that has the potential to work. And that's how, 5 years later, we got to this today.
And I will say, for me, the way I found out about SuperX. So if I could give you my perspective, it was last year. I was actually in another country on vacation. I was chilling at the hotel, and on Instagram there was this pop up. I forgot who posted it. It was a year ago, but it was one of the super suits, one of the original super suits that were on the website. I forgot which one it was in particular. I think it might have been the Parker. And I saw it and I was like, oh, that looks really cool. So I glanced on, I went on to SuperX, and that's when I discovered my very first SuperX product that I ever bought from your company was these shirts. Because usually as a consumer, you start small and then you go from there. Because most people, they usually like to take the safe route before they pull the trigger. Now I just pull the trigger unlimitedly. But the shirt was excellent. The only thing that I had the issue with at the time, because I didn't know the sizing, was when I ordered a large, it actually felt pretty tight on me. So I had to order a size up. So now all the shirts that I wear, all the sweaters are extra large, but the pants are still large. So for me, I had to adjust to the quality. But it was amazing. The material felt great. It was exactly like what people were saying. And from that day forth, then I bought the Quicksilver long sleeve. That was the next product they had teased. I remember you guys had the Quicksilver. Then the Mr. Fantastic super suit. I still have it. I'm actually going to wear it for Halloween. So that's going to be a good Halloween costume. But no, that's my journey with SuperX. And then, of course, the Black Friday sales. I don't know if you guys are going to be doing one this year. But either way,
Yes.
I'm still buying from you guys. I don't need no sales, just saying. But it's been a great journey. I've been following your company for a while. I wouldn't say I'm one of the OGs because I came in while you guys were going up, but I'm glad to be along the journey. And I can tell you from, again, my perspective, I think you guys really have something that not a lot of gear can offer, and that is truly the look, the quality, the feel, all of it. Now, the next thing I wanted to ask you is, so most people don't know, but you guys actually started creating side lineups like shakers, things you were talking about before. So technically, this also now goes into the licensing area. So now you're getting Batman, Wonder Woman. I don't know if you had Superman at one point, but you got a lot of characters here. Does this mean that the door now is open for SuperX to now actually license and make real licensed products with the names and designs approved by DC and Marvel?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's basically, like I had mentioned, since its inception, I've always wanted to do a licensed product. And before I get into your question, um, like I said, when I started SuperX, I actually started it as a supplement line, and I wanted to do the world's first licensed products. And the reason that's funny is I knew that it would be a thing. I just couldn't make it happen at the time. But I think last year, GNC officially did, or this year, they did their first Marvel licensed supplements. 5 years after I already basically proclaimed that's what was going to happen. And then also Vitamin Shop did their DC licensed supplements last year. So it's kind of funny how for me anyway, I predicted what was going to happen. It's just a matter of, it's kind of cool seeing those things come to life. But back to answering your question, right? Our goal has always been to license products. A couple of reasons why. It's just really cool, in my opinion, to work with companies that you've seen your entire life, or characters that you love, and it just adds that layer of authenticity and makes you feel like a legitimate business, right? And that's something that we've struggled with for a while, because in order for these companies to take you seriously, you have to show a growth in your business revenue. You have to show social media growth, and you have to show that you're a partner who's capable of licensing their intellectual property. So with the Power Rangers, that has been, so you said you're not an OG, but honestly, anyone who's been in the business or been involved with SuperX prior to licensing is going to be considered an OG, because moving forward, licensing is going to be our main focus. And just for you guys to be aware, I've teased this a little bit, but our next license is going to be a G.I. Joe license. That one is going to be really cool. So we're going to be licensing Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. And those two characters to me are really cool because they kind of have their outfits or their suits. They give off a realistic vibe as is. So I think that it's going to add something really unique to the marketplace and something that's really cool. So G.I. Joe is the next one. And then we have some other ones in talks that I can't disclose yet, but they're very big intellectual properties that we're more than likely going to be able to work with due to our success with Power Rangers and our future success of G.I. Joe. And licensing is going to be our main focus moving forward, and it's going to be great. So I hope that does answer your question a little bit, but if there's anything you want me to dig in deeper, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, well, that definitely answered it. Thank you. And I will say, I wasn't even going to say anything. I wanted to see if you were saying it, but hey, I mean, the G.I. Joe one, I didn't grow up on G.I. Joe, but I've seen the recent movies. Not the best way to learn about G.I. Joe, but they do
Yep.
look cool. They're not that, but they are cool. So I definitely look forward to seeing what they look like in the future. But I would actually like to see if it's possible, because this is just me throwing a suggestion out there before I get to the next question. I was thinking you guys could do, because I've always wanted to see it be done, a Spawn inspired super suit. I don't know if you know Spawn, the character Spawn.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
The logo
of
at the
course.
front, and then maybe something in the back, like something along those lines, because Spawn is a character, at least that I think is an underrated character. He doesn't get the love he really gets, and I think we kind of know why. The movie stained it. The TV show was the best. And I haven't seen a lot of apparel over the years. I know Todd McFarlane is heavy on the merchandising, so maybe in the future you guys work something out. That's just a suggestion. Not saying go and do it. Just saying, just a suggestion.
No, I actually absolutely love that. And we're always open to licensing ideas if it makes sense, right? And our whole thing about when it comes to character development in the future is we just want to bring people's favorite pop culture properties, characters to life through activewear. And we want to do it in a way that's cool, right? And that's one of the differentiators between our brand and anything else out there that exists is most companies, what they do is they just license, but they don't actually make it cool. They just throw the logo onto a cheap shirt and they say, hey, buy it because it says Batman, right? And that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make our consumers not say, hey, I'm wearing a Batman shirt. We want our consumers to look in the mirror and be like, hey, I am Batman. And that's the difference. We want them to feel like the hero, the character, whatever, and think of themselves as that by giving them an activewear that not only functionally performs, to the highest possible standards, but also looks really cool. We want to make pop culture cool for adults, essentially.
That's a great goal. And it's actually one of the reasons why I wear these shirts and why I wear some of it, even if it's meant for working out. I wear them all the time as a regular wear around because they feel great and honestly, they look great. And I don't know if this was an added bonus, but it does make your muscles look a little bit popped out a little bit.
That's exactly right. So that's funny. I'll be brief on this, but essentially our design framework and how we develop products. I'm still developing every single product. I'm the person who does all the product development. And ever since we started, there's really three components, right? There is the design first and foremost, because if you don't like the design, you're not going to buy it. Second is the quality, which we've already talked about. And then the last thing, which a lot of people don't realize until they get the product, but it's kind of like one of those cherry on top surprise types of uh, situations where when you buy the product and you try it on, you're like, whoa, I look kind of muscular. I look a little swole here. And it's because we specifically design and fit the products to be a little bit tighter on your shoulders, your arms, and your chest. But the
Hmm.
lengths of the items are actually a little bit longer than normal. So we don't want you to be wearing a compression where your stomach and maybe unflattering areas for some of us are highlighted, but we do want those upper body muscles like the shoulders, chest, and arms to be highlighted. And we do that by just making the fit tighter on the upper body and then the lengths and the stomach a little bit looser. So we do that very strategically because what does a superhero look like? They always look like they're in shape. And that's how we design our products, is to mimic that superhero, I guess, like build as well.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because I'm going to put myself up on the screen for just a second, because taking a look at it from my perspective. Now, I'm a guy that does mixed martial arts, so I have to weigh in at 185 pounds. Sometimes I'll move up to 205 division. And the one thing I can say is with these shirts, if you see, like, I'm not the most fit guy in the world, but one of the cool things is that even when I'm cutting weight, these shirts do not stretch. Even when my arms get bigger, they don't have that stretch effect. Like, with most shirts, they get stretched out, and then no, these shirts have maintained their size. They've maintained that compression. And the one thing that I really like a lot about these shirts, if you see at the very bottom, there's almost like a little bit of like a Shields logo at the bottom. That's like the taper at the end of the whole thing. So one of the cool things about these shirts is that they're just great all around to wear, to work out in, and they're built for it. Now,
Exactly.
the
So,
next question I had, sorry to cut you off. Do you have something to say?
nope, yeah, keep going. We're rolling.
The next question I had was, so since you've created the company, obviously there have probably been a few hurdles you had to get over and maybe a few products that
Yes.
didn't hit it with. What, in your opinion, has there ever been a product that you released that you thought was going to do well, but it didn't do as well as you hoped it would? Has there ever been any product to go into that territory? Because from what I see, I mean, from looking in, you guys are selling out almost all the time. But has there ever been a one product, like one specific launch where it didn't go so well or didn't go as you thought it would?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually want to emphasize off of your question as well about the hurdles, right? And I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to that because I really want to feed in to give your audience as much valuable information as possible.
Hmm.
And you're absolutely right. There has been products where it didn't sell, and I'm not going to dive into that because it really comes down, and I'll specify why. If a design doesn't hit, people won't buy it. The quality could be amazing, everything else about it could be perfect. But again, if it's not beauty in the eyes of the beholder, if the design isn't great, and we've made a few mistakes, making hundreds of products, you're bound to make a couple products that design wise, maybe the colors aren't the best, or maybe the design just wasn't how the prototype was supposed to look. So there's been a handful of those, but the kind of, I think a good segue though is what you'd mentioned about the hurdles, right? And I think this is extremely valuable for anyone, whether they're trying to start a business or not. But the point being is that some of the major hurdles that we've had in this business is we had a copycat brand kind of try to mimic what we were doing out of the gate, right? About a year into it, I was like, oh, this is great. No one else is doing this. To find out that there was a brand who literally copied our designs, copied our text on our website word for word, and just substituted their name with ours, and having to battle with them for almost 3 years. Where we would launch a product, and then 6 months later, they would launch a similar product, and then they would take our innovations, right? So if we would change a certain type of feature on our hoodies or our long sleeves, we would then later, 6 to 9 months later, see it in their product line. So that was a major hurdle for me emotionally because you know how it is. It's like when you try to create something and do something special and you have people copying you and they're doing it out of ill intent and ill will, and their products actually aren't better than yours, it's kind of frustrating because, it just really is. So that was one of the major hurdles. I will update you now and say, now that we're on the licensing track, we've done Power Rangers, we got all this other stuff lined up. That company's dead, they're gone, and they got what they deserve. And that's not for me to say that I don't need competition because I think competition is healthy, but straight copycats and straight people who have no respect for what you're doing and they're word for word copying what you're doing deserve to go down. And that's where the competitive aspect in me and also the justice aspect of me says, hey, they need to go out of business. And I think that they have. So that's one of the hurdles. Another hurdle that we've had is just like anyone else, right? It's when you're starting a business and you don't have any money, it's extremely hard to get around. You don't where do you start really? So that was a major hurdle about starting this brand, and everything I've ever done is not having the capital. I'm not that smart. I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree. I didn't have investors. I don't have a trust fund. I had nothing essentially. I had to do this all myself. And over the last 5 years, there's been ups, there's been downs, there's been a lot of downs actually. And it's kind of felt like every single month you're basically fighting to survive. And the point I'm trying to say is why I'm speaking to your audience is that business and life, there's always going to be hurdles. There's always going to be challenges. But, and honestly, doing the Power Rangers licensing required a huge risk on my part. And I didn't know how I was going to come out of it. I had to invest a lot of money to do the licensing, but we came out ahead, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in business because it's opened up the door to the size of the business and I guess just the love of the business and the dream of working with these companies that I've always wanted. So my point is that in life and in business and anything you do, if there's not challenges, if there's not hurdles, you're not pushing far enough. And also not to give up. It's taken me 5 years to get a license. It really has. It's taken me 5 years to get to the point where my business, I can see a huge vision for it. And my aspirations are confirmed. I'm not crazy anymore. I'm not some guy saying, one day my company's going to do something cool. It's actually starting to play out in real time, but it took 5 years of patience. So anyone out there who's going through a hard time, whether it's in business or the personal life, I'm just saying stick through it, push through it, because there's a Charles Darwin, which, Charles Darwin, he's a scientist, discovered evolution and stuff like that. There's a saying he has, right? And I love it. And it's, those who survive aren't the smartest, the strongest. It's the most adaptable. And what did Charles Darwin mean by that? Those who have the ability to adapt through good and bad situations are the ones who are going to survive. And it's the same thing for life. So my best advice and segue into that is whatever challenges you're going through, just keep adapting, just keep persevering, because when you get through the storm, it's going to be beautiful. And you can only get there if you persevere and you continue to adapt.
Gotta say that's some mighty, very powerful advice, and I will be the first one to tell you that that's something that I 100% agree with, and I could relate to that. I got some stuff going on in my personal life that's a big risk for me too, and it's probably going to propel the future of my life going forward. So I completely 100% agree with you, and it actually kind of hits home. It really does. So that was really, really powerful of you, Austin. I really appreciate you saying that. Now we got a few more questions, three more left, and then we'll wrap everything up. And then, but the next question is about the community, the SuperX community, because along the process of creating a great company, you've built a fan base, and you, as I've seen, have been very vocal and very open with your community. You interact with all the fans. You pretty much listen to them. They're the source. And one of the great things that I like that you guys recently did was launch the Reborn website, or the extension on the website. So essentially, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, basically this is an opportunity for anyone that has SuperX gear that no longer wants it or no longer needs it. They can put it up on the Reborn site and they can resell it to others that didn't get a chance to get it during its initial launch. Now, all SuperX suits, with a few exceptions, are limited edition. There are only very few made, and once they're gone, unless of course you can restock. I wanted to ask you, when creating the Reborn, the resale website, beyond the idea of also allowing for other people to get a chance, was this another way to keep the interaction going with your customers and also the fans, showing that, hey, listen, we know you missed out on something, but want to give you an opportunity, and for anybody else that needs an opportunity that could do something with their gear, give it, like, to share it around. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. Something I'm actually super proud of that we did, and the reason why we really push this is because in our community groups we have a lot of people, and this is common with comic collectors or even just collectors of anything, which a lot of our customers see themselves as. There's a lot of trading going on, people selling items, people trading, and we had a few people who were telling us that they got burned on some transactions, meaning it didn't go that way. They either didn't get the product that they ordered, or somebody like took their money, right? And that was through this Facebook community group. So we wanted to create a place that was safe for the buyer, safe for the seller, and also just allow some of those collector type of mentality to roll through, that where they go and they check the Reborn, so like, oh, I didn't even know this product was made, or wow, I really want that one. So we really did it just for to create a safe marketplace for buyer and seller, and just for our customer base and our community to have a place where they could see old products, they could list old products, and then kind of trade, swap, whatever have it. But that's kind of the intention behind it, is just a safe place for the community.
It definitely seems so, because if anybody ever goes on, which I encourage you all to check it out, you can see there's a lot of variety of different things that we don't see on the main page that gives people an opportunity, and they're at a nicer discount. Because one of the biggest things, and a lot of people always tell this to me whenever they go on, they're like, oh, the price is too expensive. But I always say you pay for what you get. But in this case, because the suits are reasonably priced, in my opinion, I think they're very, very reasonably priced. And now you have an option to now even get something you didn't have, or an opportunity to collect it. And it's also at a fair market price. I think it's personally fine for me, and it's a great win for everybody. It's a win for your company, win for the consumer. And personally speaking, maybe one of these days when I go on and I see an extra large version of the night hoodie, I think I'm definitely going to try to cop that.
Yeah, those people are, some of those people that I'm looking, they're gouging those prices though. Look at that. Go down to those Stewart joggers. Look at that, 125. You scroll down a little, one more. It's going to be on the right side.
Stewart.
Yeah, on the right side, right there.
Okay.
Oh man, that's funny. That's funny to see some of these prices though, I will say.
I can't believe they got an extra small for 135. That's crazy to me, because I mean, I know there are people out there that are extra small, but one for 135, $71 seems more. Maybe even $80.
Hey, they could list it at whatever they want. If someone buys it, power to them. But I just think it's cool to see this. And this is another part of it too that I failed to mention is, unlike every other clothing brand, some of our items appreciate in value, and I've never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
As you see, people are selling some of these products for more than they purchased it for the simple fact that these items are limited edition, and it's seen by some of our communities collectors items. And I don't know very many other brands, if any, that have that type of resale market on their activewear.
Oh no, I haven't seen it either. And it's funny because when I was looking around, I remember there was the Parker super suit, and it's completely gone now. It's not even a trace on here. Actually, fun fact, I have the Kent short sleeve. It's actually a really great shirt. And this is another one, just one of the few that I take to the gym with me. Well, now let's move a little bit. Let's move away from SuperX for just a second. Let's get into the next thing, S-Force. Now, you are also the founder of S-Force, and S-Force seems to be the more bigger of your companies. I know we didn't really spend a lot of time talking about it, but for those of you that, again, that don't know what S-Force is, it's probably what I would say the creme de la creme if you're looking to collect watches, in my opinion. And I think I've seen it a few times. One notable particular area that I might have seen this somewhere, I think, because I'm a huge UFC fan, so I think there might have been a mention of it. So why don't you give you a little bit more information, give the viewers more, and tell me if I was right about that UFC assumption.
Yeah, UFC. So I'm a martial artist, and also I've been watching UFC for probably like 10 years or more. Always a big fan. I love the fighters. I love the community in the MMA community. So you are spot on with that. So basically, our watches, as you could take a look, it's kind of like the clothing in a way. It's just a very different type of design, and the quality is behind it. So something I like to tell people if I'm like in an elevator, I'm like, hey, we make full design watches that are built tough. Obviously, what that means is that these watches, they're heavy duty, they're water resistant, they're strong. They're made out of, like, the case itself is made out of stainless steel. They're heavy, they're big, and they're basically what you would call a statement piece. If you wear our watches, someone's looking at your wrist, and that's the whole point of it. Is we wanted to create products that others are envious of. It takes notice. It doesn't blend in. We wanted our consumers to break the status quo, and they do that by buying S-Force products, whether it's the watches or the jewelry. When you get an S-Force piece, you're making a statement essentially.
Well, they definitely look like a statement-worthy appeal because I'm looking at this carbon blood. That might be my next purchase because it looks absolutely phenomenal. Now, one thing I wanted to ask, because you are CEO of two companies, managing back and forth probably cannot be easy. Of the two companies, and I'm sure you have other people that help to run your day-to-day operations, but if you had to pick between S-Force and SuperX, which one would you say, and this is probably a tough question to answer, so I probably know there's no easy answer for this. Well, which one would you say you enjoy running the most between the two of them, or do they both have their perks and they just give you pleasure as you go along the way?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's a complex question because there's different aspects of the businesses I like better. So I'll give you an example. With the SuperX community, I heavily enjoy that, and I think that between the two, the SuperX community is just absolutely phenomenal. Always providing feedback, always supportive. With S Force, it's a different type of customer base. There's not as much of a community. Our customer base is a lot older, and they don't really use social media as much. So it's just the community on SuperX is more enjoyable. The product design on both it is a little bit more enjoyable for SuperX because it's a lot more fun. You're basically taking inspiration, or you're taking a licensed product and bringing it to life. But there's other aspects when it comes to who you work with, and I think this part on S Force is a lot more fun. The types of athletes that we're going to be able to work with, and we have worked with S Force, to me are like people that I look up to, role models, UFC fighters, NFL players, celebrities. So on the I guess the PR or the athletes or the influencers and the celebrities that we work with on S Force, it's a lot more fun to me than the types of influencers that we work with for SuperX. But each business has their own set of things that I enjoy and set of things that maybe I don't enjoy as much. But to summarize, both of the businesses, they're similar, but they're different. So it allows me to seamlessly kind of go back off. So if I get burned out of doing SuperX stuff, I go work on some S4 stuff, and then vice versa. So it's never really boring. Nothing's really not enjoyable. It's just every day is just a challenge to kind of solve, and how to grow the business, how to make it a little bit better every day. So to answer your question, I love them both, but different brands. Both of the brands have just a little bit different aspects that I like differently.
Sounds fair to me, my friend. It sounds absolutely fair. And that brings us to the last and final question before we wrap up this interview. This is really probably a cliche question, but what's next? I mean, we've already talked about what's next. We know what's going on with SuperX. We know the licensing is going to be the play. But talk to me now long term. Where do you see, and if you want to throw in S-Force, we could throw in S-Force, but where do you see these companies 10 years down the road? And where do you see yourself in 10 years down the road with these two companies hand in hand? Where do you see it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll speak on a timeline of about 5 years because that's where kind of when I write my goals down, that's kind
True.
of like where I kind of pin it out because 10 years is kind of far away from me. I could be doing anything in 10 years, but 5 years down the road for both businesses, I look to probably 10x the size of them for both businesses. For SuperX specifically, I really want every month to be doing multiple drops. Every single drop is licensed, or almost every single drop is licensed, and then for us to expand our unlicensed products, meaning our own kind of creative products like the shirt you're wearing, and just to keep feeding into that. I just want to create the one of the world's largest activewear companies, but through this lens of licensed products and products that just kind of make you feel like a badass. Essentially, we're going to be working with like Marvels and the DCs of the world and those types of big companies, and really take the presence as just one of the biggest companies out there in activewear. And because we're not going to just stop with that, we're going after all of pop culture and we're making pop culture cool. So 5 years, probably 10x the size of the business, work with every IP and character you can imagine that makes sense for what we envision, cool stuff that we all want to see. And also just start working with more and more celebrities, like actors of some of these characters. Like dream of mine would be to be able to work with like a Christian Bale or a Ben Affleck for a Batman type of environment, or even work with a Christopher Nolan or something like that. Just work with some of these people who are legitimately involved with these characters. That's my goal for the 5 year mark. For S Force, same thing, but instead of the license type of play, my one of my major strategic goals is to partner with the UFC at some sort of capacity. As a fan and as somebody who just loves it's the only sport I really watch. I don't care about football, baseball, hockey, soccer, none of those things. I understand them. I've played them before, but just when a Saturday night rolls through, I'm watching UFC. I'm not watching college sports. I'm not watching this other stuff. Respect to that, but this is just my thing. So for me, I think S Force in 5 years is going to be have some type of partnership with the UFC, and that's kind of like what I'm predicting. And both, like I said, both brands are going to probably 10x in size. And also, how does that impact my life? Right? I look to get into more once these brands hit a pinnacle point where the mainstream customer base sees them and they recognize SuperX, they recognize S Force. I then want to take a small step back and kind of get into just helping others. I want to be able to do more podcasts like this. I want to be able to put my name, my reputation, what I'm doing out there, and I want to help more people in like the social media influencer space because there's just a lot of BS out there. There's a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about in life in general, and I just think there needs to be somebody who has my point of view speaking to and helping. I think social media, like my social media followers, and that's kind of like what I want to do in 5 years. But outside of that, we're going to have kids. My wife and I are going to have kids. We're going to go on a bunch of trips. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. I just want to enjoy life, build my companies, work hard on my own things, and help as many people as I can. And the last thing I will emphasize is as these businesses grow and as I continue to level up my life, one of the most important things that has really hit me over the last year is giving back, right? So with both brands, we're going to start working on a percent of profits are going to go towards a specific charity. Personally, I would like to start a charity. I would like to get more involved with charities, and I would also like to help educate people on how they can not only donate, but they can also get involved with charities in their community. Because the big thing I've seen is the world has a lot of problems, and all of these charities, they need a lot of help. We can't make the world better just by hoping somebody else does it. We need to step in and we need to do it ourselves. And that, I think, is the good way to end this podcast because just like these heroes that we're talking about, the heroes that we look up to, the real world needs heroes to step up. So something that I'm hyper focused on, and the whole point why I'm doing any of this, why do I want these businesses to grow? Why do I want to acquire more money and wealth for myself? It's not so I can have a bigger house or a bigger car. It's so that way I can make a bigger contribution to society and help back. That is my driving force. That's what I want. That's why I want SuperX. That's why I want S Force to get bigger so that way we can make our customers happy and contribute and make the world a better place.
Again, man, that's some very, very powerful stuff, and I don't even think I could top that. That is 100% some very, very powerful things. And I'll say this, I agree with you. The world can definitely need some superheroes outside of the capes and the mask. And being when the pandemic hit, I remember in 2020, I ran a little charity live stream. I was trying to do it this year. I signed up. Basically, I made all the money that I made on my YouTube channel during the pandemic from 1 week. I donated it to Dustin Poirier's foundation, basically as an effort to help those during COVID. So I completely 100% relate to that, and I 100% respect that. And I gotta tell you, I've talked to a lot of people on this show. I've talked to a lot of content creators. I have talked to so many powerful people, even in the tech world, from OnePlus and Samsung. I've never met somebody who could be as genuine and as open of a kind human being as I'm looking at you right now. And I just want to take this moment to really thank you for not only taking your time out of your day to come on my show to talk about a company that I love and respect, but I really appreciate you just being who you are. And I really appreciate you doing what you're doing. And I will tell you lastly, I will be a customer. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep investing my money into your company because I believe in what it stands for. I believe in equality, but also I believe in you, Austin. And I really want to thank you for really coming on and just sharing everything today.
I deeply appreciate that. And I likewise, I also think that the sentiments you just shared is coming from somebody who's deeply emotionally mature. And I have to commend you for your emotional intelligence and also just your awareness of the types of people that you know that you want to be around. I think that's huge.
I appreciate that as well. And I really, again, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today. And I really cannot thank you for your time and effort here. So guys, this is where we're going to end the show. Again, everyone, head on over to SuperX. Check it out. Check out all the gear. Check out on S-Force. Check it all out, guys. Links will be in the description. Again, guys, want to send a huge thank you to Austin for being a part of today's show. This stream will be available for replay, so all you SuperX fans get to watch it over and over and over. Make sure you hit the like button. Share it out with your friends and family. Share it out. Once again, everyone, this is the Technoid Live episode coming to an end. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, and